Hello friends, family and other creatures of the sea, and welcome back to a best of 3 here between in the bottom left spawning as the red Protoss player. It's none other than DPG's herO. And in the bottom right spawning as the blue Zerg player playing for Team Kaizi Gaming. It is of course Solar. herO known to be a cheesy little prick, as he just loves attacking very early on. With these big pushes, we see a lot of adept stuff. We see some DTs coming out of him as well. He really can do absolutely anything. I've literally seen him do anything. He doesn't even mind opening up with things like double oracle, triple oracle, throw down a robo, go into a 6 gate. That, of course, a lot of that was before he came back from the military. But he hasn't really calmed down since he came back from the military. A lot of people, after they went to the military, they kind of became more calm and collected players, more macro focused. DRG, I think, used to be a little more aggressive than he is nowadays. Nowadays he's extremely macro focused. MMA, I think, was really macro focused after he came back. Fantasy was an insane macro player after he came back from the military as well. But herO, he's still the exact same herO as he was a year and 9 months before he joined the military. And I was aggressive, risky, sometimes needless risks as well. herO is one of the only players that takes risks just to be risky, rather than actually having a goal necessarily with his risks. He doesn't really do calculated risks, he just like risks. He's an adrenaline junkie in a way. Except rather than climbing high mountains without any protective gear, this man shades in 2 adepts without having a 3rd adept at home. He'll die against a link flood, but who really link floods these days? Well, perhaps Solar will. Solar is of course aware of this guy's reputation. And Solar has the reputation of being a bit of a mid-game player. Sure, he knows how to play late games. He's quite good in the late games as well. But where he really shines is the mid-game. He loves using Mutalisk to great effect majority of the time. He's a big fan of Ravaging Bane pushes. He's a Zerg that sometimes throws in a Hydra Bane push. Doesn't mind a Queen Walk every now and again as well. So it's a bit of a clash of styles in a way, where herO should be in control in the early game, and then later on in the game most likely Solar will kind of take the game where it needs to go. If they do end up in a late game, I still tend to favor Solar, but we'll have to see how that ends up going. Let's see Solar opening up with a fast creep tumor here out of the queen. Second queen going down on that forward hatchery. herO did manage to block that, now sends his probe back home as the adept for herO is making its way across the map. Second adept was not chronoed out, so we're not going to see a double adept shade in anything like that. No, most likely we're just going to see a very defensive herO, at least in the first few seconds, until that Overlord gets taken out. No 3rd adept either. That is something that does surprise me. That means it's going to be difficult to... Ooh, I like this. To really get any damage on. Snipes the tumor for free. Metabolic boost is about 12 seconds away from finishing, and Solar wanted to chase this adept at least for a little bit, but the adept will end up just shading straight back home. Overlord gets sacrificed. Sees the fact that there is a Stargate here chronoing out an Oracle. That should force that Spore at, well, what should it be? 344, 345, yep. Single Spore for now. We see a single Spore in the main base, which means that this queen is going to walk towards the natural, or perhaps the queen that throws down the tumor will walk towards the natural. There's of course always a couple of options here for the Zerg to get the queens where they need to be, and they can get there in different ways. Yep, that queen starts walking down. Spore finishes in the main base, and this is the natural location, but of course really is the third. What is this? herO is taking the forward base. I've seen actually no one do this. I think Zest did this once as well. Zest absolutely got blasted by a Queen Walk when he did it. I don't quite see the point of this, because when you take this back 3rd base, what ends up happening is that the Zerg needs to attack over here anyway. So some forward cannons can defend both the natural and the 3rd, and you just give yourself another 10 seconds, or 12 seconds maybe, which the queens need to walk rather than being here. This is quite reachable for queens. We have a second Stargate on the way for DPG herO, as well as the +1 air weapons upgrade, which could help him against any potential queen walks. We see extra gases going down right now, but as Solar's already saturated on all of the mineral patches, I'd be very surprised if this will go into a queen walk. It doesn't really have queen walky vibes for me here, but of course it's always a possibility. couple of links are being produced here, just making sure that he won't die against any type of adept shenanigans. 3 adepts are on the map trying to shade forward. Perhaps trying to pull these queens out of position. There's 6 queens done right now. 7th queen is on the way. Usually, when you play against double Stargate, you want to at least go up to 8 queens. And then once your layer finishes, maybe even get queen 9 and 10. 6 gas is going to be the answer here out of Solar. And no fort base being taken yet, as he doesn't really feel like he can. He's going to be slightly oversaturated in his natural and his third. Ooh, it's a Hydra then. I think Solar might actually be one of the only Zerg players that still has some belief in the Hydra. And that says a lot about Solar, that he likes this unit that much. It's really just a mid-game unit. This unit does not transition into a late game, let me tell you that much. The moment Storm is out or larger numbers of Disruptor, the Hydra just falls off a freaking cliff. And as Disruptor rushes are somewhat common these days, I'm extremely surprised to see this. This fort base is, well, to be honest, quite late. We see a Nidus network? What is this? A Hydra Queen Nidus. This is one of these things that you think about under the shower. I have this a lot, right? Where you're just having a cheeky shower because you smell. And in the shower, you come up with this brilliant idea. It's like, oh, if I open up with 5 Void Rays and then go into Glaive Adept. I force out a lot of queens, and then with the Adepts, I kill drones, and I transition into Carrier. Then whenever you play this in a real game, reality tends to hit you kind of hard, honestly. And reality says that you'll just die to a Queen Walk. And it's the same with a Nidus, Hydra Nidus. I've never heard of this working in my life, but I guess if you don't have any vision in your main base, it potentially could be pretty darn lethal here. Solar is going to be capable of getting into the main base. 7 Void Rays. 9 Void Rays coming out of heroes. The Nidus finishes up. Queens are popping out. This was an unscouted 61 drone Queen Hydra Nidus. If this doesn't just straight up kill hero, this build is hot garbage, because this is the ideal scenario. We have a Protoss player without disruptors, without any static defense, and without any idea that this was coming into the main base. So this is the optimal scenario here for Solar. And so far, honestly, this isn't looking all that hot. This battery is about to finish up. 15 workers have gone down on the side of hero. We don't have a secondary Nidus on the low ground. Usually, the power of the Nidus is that you can pop in between a main base and perhaps a third. No super battery is being used as the battery gets taken out as well. 6 Void Rays do remain, and hero's in a bit of trouble, that's for sure. Now, the good thing for hero is that he still has some Void Rays. Jesus, so we're bringing 2 Zealots here. That's not going to help him out. I think he's just... Is he straight up dead? 6 Queens, 7 Hydras, 5 Void Rays though. If this pylon stays alive for long enough for another Void Ray to come out, perhaps there's some potential. He needs to micro these Void Rays back to batteries. Oh, GG just gets called, and I guess Solar wins game number 1 here in the best of 3 with a freaking Hydra Queen Ling Nidus. I've never seen this build before, I just made that up. Alright, we'll head into game number 2. Alright, let's see if Solar has any more shower builds. Since that first one definitely kind of worked out there. I like the name for that, the shower builds. It really does feel like a pure theory crafting build. It like really works well when you think about it in that. Oh, the Queen beats the Void Ray. The Hydra does well against the Void Ray. If they build Void Rays, I build the Queen and the Hydra. How do I get to the other side of the map? You kind of look at your options. You go like creep, man, boring. Overlord drops, it's like, exciting but bad. And the Nidus, terrible if scouted, but if it goes up, it's a win. And that's exactly what happened there. So big win for Solar with that shower build. And now on Hardwire, I'd be surprised if he has something similar here. I'd be surprised if hero would fall for the same trick again. Tend to usually, anyway, build your third pylon in the corner. I'm kind of surprised that hero did not do that. Sure, he went away for a while, but that did not change. I always do like, this is one of the things, by the way, that I love about hero. First of all, I think hero is a fantastic player. And one of the reasons is that he will do anything in his power to annoy, confuse, and frustrate the opponent. And he tends to constantly switch up the location of his second pylon. Sometimes it's over here. Sometimes it's going to be built in the natural, down there. We see it over here sometimes. Sometimes it's all the way on the edge to get that first Stargate units across the map as quickly as he can as well. So there's a lot of possibilities just for that second pylon to be built and for that tech to be built next to that second pylon as well. This time he's going to be building it Well, it's a similar location actually as the first game. But this is something, if you pay attention to what herO does, I think that's just really cool. Because with giving your opponent similar information, you can still really switch it up. So right now his warp gate has been delayed, Solar has seen that. You could still go for an Oracle, you could still go for a Void Ray first as well. And often, if your opponent sees the fact that there's a second Adept, they are going to be sending in that Overlord. That's just something they do. Almost 100% of the time, I would say. And that's what our good friend Solar is going to be doing here as well. Start sending in the Overlord. Most of the time you even start it a bit above the pylon because you still have time to get the safety usually. If your opponent opens up with a Void Ray, that's fine, you would have lost your Overlord anyway. But if your opponent opened up with an Oracle, you're going to be capable of spotting that just a little bit faster, and it allows you to get a quicker Spore. So it basically allows you to delay the Spore if the Void Ray is out, get the Spore perfectly on time when it's an Oracle first. That's a cool little trick there. After the second unit finishes, and if it's not a Stalker, you can always do that. Very consistently. For all the Zerg players out there. And we have this Oracle coming out. We have basically the same opener here out of herO. The question is the follow-up going to be... Look at this. This is what I was talking about earlier. This is the most herO thing I've seen in my life. Moving out with 2 Adepts, while taking a 3rd base, and not having anything whatsoever in your wall. That is insanity. That is just crazy. I understand he wants to save money and not get the 3rd Adept, because the 3rd Adept does delay your Nexus, and you get in this awkward situation with your 4th pylon, where you kind of need to build it before your Nexus, and ideally you don't want that, because that would delay the Nexus even further. herO just has these 2 Adepts across the map. You see a Stasis Ward being used here on the other side as well. And, well, what is this? Queen's actually going to be capable of taking it? Oh, that was really close. These drones came back just on time, just before it got triggered. 8 more workers in production, as Solar is continuing his quick ramp up of drones. Wants to be getting a drone count that allows him to go for some type of timing push, some type of aggressive play. As that's what we're expecting out of Solar here. Layer goes down, Roach Warren has started as well, and we see him go up to... Well, 5 gases, but the 6th gas surely is going to be taken at some point as well in the near future. Layer going down. Once again, I have a double Stargate. I'm surprised that herO decides to open up with the same thing more than once. This probe's in a bit of trouble. Oh, but the battery! Oh. Not quite in the correct position to actually keep that probe alive. I like what he did here. These 2 Adepts, these are 2 new Adepts, I think. The first 2 have died. So herO just really not having any defenses whatsoever and saying, hey, if I don't have any defenses at home, I can have all my units on the other side of the map. And then Solar says, lol, look at this. Walks in with 10 links, actually kills 3 workers, forces a full pullback of all the units that herO has, bar these 2 Adepts, which are now actually going to be shading in. There is 3 Queens in the natural, but these drones are going to be going down, and that could be very annoying here. Immediately 10 links in production as well. So the direct damage is going to be full. Cheeky transfuse. Is going to be 4 workers, and the indirect damage is going to be 6 workers, as 12 links had to be built. Of course, not the end of the world, because this 4th, once again, 4th hatch, pretty late here for Solar. If these Void Rays get in the correct position and are capable of targeting down this hatchery, that really could be an issue for the Korean Zerg. He needs to defend this hatchery with his life. He's going for the Overlord speed right now as well. And... Ooh, Infestation... What? Double Bailing Nest, Infestation Pit, and Hive. Is that a first Evo Chamber? That's a first Evo Chamber. So once again, it's going for a Hydra. This base gets cancelled. This is really bad. He wants to be droning up right now. It's not the worst thing in the world if you're playing Hydra to have a slightly slower 4th base, because you tend to want to build a wave of like 10, 12 Hydras. 67, usually actually at 75 workers anyway. It's very old school to build a wave of Hydras at 66 or 67. Yeah, we now see a wave of 8, 9 Hydras, 71 drones, which are, well, a bunch of those are long distance mining. This is the problem with that late 4th base, right? It's just an issue. Overseer is hiding in the corner. When I say hiding, I mean it's just, well, hiding in plain sight. And gets away with it as well. If it wasn't for these meddling kits. Well, actually, there were no kits over here, so he stays alive. Void Rays are trying to do some damage, and herO is playing a very different style from the standard double Stargate. Most of the time with a double Stargate, what we see is we see players transition into carriers after 4 Void Rays, 5 Void Rays max. You don't want to get more than that. But herO instead is going for a very old school type of thought, and he says, okay, I actually want to do something with my Void Rays. He goes into 9 Void Rays and wants to actually force his opponent to either stay home, well, basically just to stay home, or to get a little bit of damage done with it. Because if Solar decides to move out, you could just lose a base very quickly, because these Void Rays have very high damage output against buildings. Cannon is going to get cancelled. Once again, almost no ground units here. He's going to go into a Hydra, Baneling, Viper, and the Queen count is surprisingly low. Now, I was going to mention the fact that the Queen count isn't very high, especially looking at the Void Ray count. But now it makes a lot of sense. He wants to rush into these Vipers, and then the Queen count all of a sudden isn't that important. It's more important that you get a lot of Hydras, that you get these Vipers out quickly, and that you hit a tight timing. You still want to be walking with 3-4 of the Queens probably. It's always nice to be capable of transfusing your Vipers. He only went for 2 Vipers, by the way. That is a little bit worrisome if you're a casual Solar enjoyer. I wouldn't have minded seeing a 3rd Viper, because he's kind of lacking the gas at this point. Getting a lot of Hydra Liska. +2 range as well. This feels almost like an in-between type of push. But it also doesn't feel like an in-between push, you know? This 82 workers, 8 gases, no 5th base. But it's still hitting at 9 minutes and 15 seconds. Double Colossi follow-up. Good lord. The year 2012, are we back in Wings of Liberty? Void Ray Colossus is what we used to play. 28 Banelings. The question to me here, will we see parasitic bombs? And if so, will the Colossi be more useful? I'm not quite sure, because abducts against the Colossi would be huge, obviously. In that case, you have a lot of Hydras that could really dish out a lot of damage. He's trying to trigger that Stasis Ward. Good force fields out of here. herO's controlling this freaking well so far, but his army might just suck too much. First 2 Colossi are out right now. We see a Parasitic Bomb. No, he's very patient with these Vipers. Doesn't want to waste it. Here comes the first Parasitic Bomb. I can only assume. Well, hello? Rushes into Hive to hit 2 minutes later with a Hydra Bane push than you usually would. Loses both Vipers for free. This is ridiculous. He's still gonna straight up window, I think. At least get a cancel on that 4th base. 17 workers have gone down. +2 is still on the way, and we have 2 more Vipers in production right now. Oh, Solar needs to be so careful, though. There is two Templar as well. No Storm on them. Could morph into an Archon. But battery healing, no Thermal Lance is a big deal. If Thermal Lance was done here, I think these Colossi, well, right at this point, a single Colossi would be capable of doing a lot more. It's going to finish up in 12 seconds. Baneling round is important here. Banelings tank very well against Colossi. Not only do they tank, but then they also tend to explode on the Zealots or on buildings. And then the Hydras kind of have free play. If you don't kill the Banelings, they'll just explode on whatever the Banelings want to explode on. And that also isn't good. So you need to kill them, but if you kill them, they still explode. So there's really, yeah, stuck between a rock and a hard place in a way. Solar isn't super keen on attacking into this, though, and I understand that once again. Wants to maybe wait a little bit for this Viper energy as he's leeching off of this Roach Warden. We have a single abduct here. Do we even? Yeah, single abduct here. We have a couple of abducts here, or maybe even a Parasitic Bomb, of course. Still a possibility. herO's getting kind of ballsy here. Starts moving forward. 11 Void Rays, 3 Colossi. This is such a weird army. This really feels like Wings of Liberty. Big Baneling run by Do into that 3rd base. And 14, 15 workers have gone down. Here come the abducts. 1, 2. Do we have a 3rd? Oh my god, there's like 20 more Banelings morphing in right now. I think Solar has just done it. Parasitic Bomb on these Void Rays, good call. Still has 1 abduct as well that he can use on the Colossi, but he's not going to do it. And I don't think it's quite going to matter. 80 workers against 45. 1k still in the bank. 11 more Hydras on the way, plus 1 melee. It's halfway done, and plus 2 range, of course, is finished. Super Battery is keeping herO alive for now. There's 3 Disruptors completely stuck in here. These would have been useful in that last fight, but they weren't there, so instead they were being useless behind the wall. Starts attacking his Cybercore rather than his battery. There we go. Might want to switch targets there, buddy. Yeah, correct call. Oh, hello. These Void Rays still need to go, and right as that gets killed, these Lings start walking in. herO in a world of trouble. No cannon, no batteries in the main base. Adrenal Glands on the way. Gas 9 and 10 here as well. I wouldn't even mind a second Evo chamber at this point here for Solar. Still on 79 workers. Pushes in once again. Oh, Good feedback out of herO. And with 5 disruptors, perhaps there is an opportunity for him to get a couple of good hits. That first disruptor actually gets a big hit. There's 2 more shots available, but these banelings are going to connect with it right now. That's another good shot. Solar's actually kind of bleeding out units, but yeah, there's still just a little bit too much. herO taps out as Solar wins the series 2-0 with 2. Well, calling them odd build orders, I think, would be a bit of an understatement. These are very weird build orders, especially the Viper push and then losing the Viper straight away. Kind of feels like they should be the focal point in that push. It still managed to make it work. Gets the clean dubs. herO perhaps a bit too going too hard on these Void Rays and these Colossi as well, not contributing too much to the fight before Thermal lands. The timing that Solar hit was crisp. So yeah, that's going to be it for me today. Thanks all so much for watching. Hope you did enjoy it. If you did, don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and hopefully I'll see you all next time for a new video. Thank you so much for watching, and bye-bye.